Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for Fire Force Episode 7, and it's a late night review, guys. I'm recording this at pretty much 10 o'clock at night. So Fire Force Episode 7, and this is and to start off, I it's weird to talk about, but the first thing I want to talk about in this episode is pretty much is basically the gag at the beginning of the episode with the Angels 3, because as you can see the whole basis of the joke in the beginning of the episode is that essentially was that pretty much 3 out of those 4 girls, the Angels 3 essentially, all had the same look and all had the same base look and hair color, except for all of the base same hair color look and hair color, obviously except for the one who was the brunette who wasn't part of the Angels 3. And if I'm being honest, this is kind of one of those things where when it comes to manga being a strictly black and white format, this is one of those jokes. This is definitely one of those jokes where it works better than. This is one of those jokes where it does work better in manga form than it pretty much does in animation, in the sense where the manga because it was like a black and white format, it left you more with the perception that basically all 4 of them had the same hair color, whereas the anime outright shows you, oh there's one girl in there who has a different hair color than the rest. So it's just a small detail, but it's just on that small detail alone, I pretty much feel that pretty much the humor of the gag was better executed in the manga. I know it's pretty much kind of weird in order for me to start pretty much dissecting a joke of all things. But I feel that it is kind of important every once in a while in order to look on the smaller details of something. Overall, just that particular one scene, it was a little bit of a flop on the studio's part. I think if David Production had just went ahead and made the girl like pretty much a blonde like the rest of them, I think the joke would have worked out a little better, I think. But it was still funny, mind you, but it was lacking a little bit more of that punch than the manga. So now getting back to the story itself, the episode this week, it gave us a major reveal that through Company 5's research, that they easily discovered that there is someone out there who's responsible for pretty much human combustion, and who's responsible for I suppose this rise and increase in human combustion, and responsible for creating at least the majority of these infernals. But the equally more important point with this new knowledge is that Hibana mentions how Hibana just makes note of the fact that just because Company 8 has her research, it doesn't mean they'll even be able to do anything or move forward. And if you remember, and the reason why it's kind of important in order to take note of what Hibana said in this episode is because if you remember, it's kind of something small to overlook, but there is this very small narrative detail that's being pushed throughout the series thus far, which is Company 8's lack of an engineer and a science officer or scientist and Company 8 has neither of these people in their employ. So now with pretty much them having this research from Company, with Company 8 having this research from Company 8 that pretty much they can't do anything with, that apparently is going to be hard to decipher and whatnot. This pretty much just. This is pushing the ladder of needing a science officer into the spotlight as a key priority in order to learn what they can from Company 5's research data. So yeah, just it's a very small point, but it is worth mentioning too that there obviously is there's something that yeah, this is gonna be that it's kind of pushing a little bit of an underlying plot point forward now too. That at some point obviously is going to be addressed. I think it's I think if I remember correctly from reading the manga, I think getting a scientist, the whole plot point of getting a science officer or scientist, it comes after this whole this basically this whole infiltration of Company 1, I think. Now, now, obviously, once again, I gotta talk pacing and adaptation, because and I'm not gonna lie, this week, pacing and adaptation was basically somewhere between okay to odd to kinda awkward this week, because it pretty much covered all the way up to the mid 20s, because this episode covered all the way up to the mid-20s chapter-wise. I think chapter 24, something like that. I think chapter 23, 24, something like that. But when it was adapting chapter 21, it basically took the shower scene and skipped the rest of it. But and at first it was a little jarring to me, but pretty much then but then afterwards I went back and took a look at and I took a look and decided to revisit chapter 21, and I remembered that chapter 21, that outside of the shower scene, it was basically just kind of chapter 21 was really just nothing more than kind of a fluffy transitional chapter. So I actually kind of understand as to why David Productions had skipped the majority of that chapter. And yeah, in chapter 21, I think it goes without saying, it goes without saying, because chapter 21 was a transitional chapter, we weren't really even missing much. Like all they had was like a fight with an infernal, and then just kind of goofing around and basically Hibana just kind of goofing around with Company 8 a bit. But yeah, that was it. And yeah, like I said, the only important part, believe it or not, was pretty much the shower scene. So yeah, that it's kind of weird, but yeah, that's how it went. Aside from that, though, the rest of the adaptation was okay. Although another problem I will admit that this episode faced when adapting the manga is that it was doing a lot of jumping around when it came to transitioning from pretty much scene to scene. Like there are a couple scenes even beyond chapter 21 where they kind of just either skipped over or just kind of were worked around or reworked or something like that. But yeah, it was jumping around a little too much, so it could have handled the transitions, I think, a little better. And yeah, the rest of the episode was and yeah, other than that, the rest of the episode was really just the infiltration of the first company and getting a feel for how strong the top brass of Company 1 are. Which, spoiler alert, yeah, they're all pretty fucking strong, with Captain Burns practically being a case of going up against an iron wall of sorts. So yeah. Having said that, though, even though in this episode Company 1 had proved themselves in order to be top tier fighters, I feel the art and animation this week didn't do as much as it could have in order to reinforce that point. I mean, don't get me wrong. In between each of the fights that happened, in between each of the practice matches that happened between like Company 8, Company 1, there were a couple times in between each fight where I visually got a sense that that every single one of these guys in Company 1 are the strongest of the Fire Force companies, and they've earned their reputation. Like, I definitely got that imposing feeling at times. But overall, it felt like David Production was pretty much severely holding back when I feel that there were a lot more opportunities that were visually they I think they pretty much could have there was a lot more scenes where I feel they basically could have taken advantage of like visually representing and showing us just how imposing pretty much Company 1 actually is. And I felt that especially with pretty much the fight between Arthur and Shinra and Captain Burns. Like that particularly was the fight where you definitely need to go all out on the art and animation and show just how imposing of a figure Captain Burns is. But I only got that every once in a while, unfortunately. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Find me on Twitter, Facebook, AniList, or Crunchyroll. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.